Perek Chavchet, the 20th chapter of the book of Mishlei, Nasu v'ein rodef rasha v'tzadikim kichvir yiftach. The wicked flee, though no one chases after them, but the righteous are as confident as a lion. Right? They fall at the smallest thing, but the righteous person, even if something happens to them, they remain confident. When there's a rebellion in the land, many are its rulers, what we might call anarchy. But with a man who has understanding and knowledge, stability will last. A poor man who withholds what is due to the wretched is like a destructive rain that leaves no food. Those who leave Torah, and Torah doesn't here mean Breshit bara Elokim, it means a certain type of educational process. Those who leave, who forsake instruction, what are they? They're the ones who praise the wicked. You're not going to learn the way to act. You're praising the wicked. You're allowing the wicked and wickedness to continue to thrive and become even more pervasive. But those who listen to the Torah, Shomer Torah Yitgarubam, they fight them. They fight against the wickedness. Continuing Pasuk verse 5, Anshe Ra lo yavinu mishpatu v'akshe Adonai yavinu chol. Evil man can't discern judgment. They can't understand it, but those who seek God, they can understand, they can analyze, they can discern all things. I don't know about all things. There are a lot of questions about this world which we can never get the answers to, but obviously much more than those who are evil. Tov rash holech betumo meikesh dorachayim v'hu ashir. Better is a poor man who lives blamelessly than a rich man whose ways are crooked. Notzer Torah bein mevin v'roeh zolim yachlim av. An intelligent son listens to the instructions that are given, listens to the Torah, listens to the teaching. But the people who are zolel, the people who stay with the gluttons, the people who that's who their company is, they become disgraces to their fathers. The person who increases his wealth by loans at discount or interest amasses it for one who is generous to the poor. He who turns a deaf ear to instructions, his prayer is also an abomination. So if you don't listen to what the ways of society, you don't listen to the teachings, then even your prayer, it's worthless. Very, we had it before in this book regarding Karbanot, a very sort of Isaiah, Yeshaya type message. So we said before, Mishlei comes before Isaiah historically. So I don't know, it's accurate to say an Isaiah type message, but certainly more prevalent and more well known from that book. Continuing in verse 10, Pasuk Yud, Mishageh Yisharim B'derech Rab Shuchatohu Yipol Utmimim Yinchalu Tov. One who misleads the upright into an evil course will fall into his own pit, but the blameless will prosper. We've seen it many times before that the person who is the Haman stories I've said many times before. The Haman story of a person who falls into his own pit. Chacham be'enav ish ashir v'dal mevin yach karenu. A rich man is clever in his own eyes, but a poor person can see through him. Ba'alot tzadikim rabat tiferet v'kum r'shaim yichupas adam. When the righteous exult, there is great glory. But when the wicked rise up, uvikum rishaim, men make themselves scarce. I was just listening on NPR, not about men, a story about women in Afghanistan and erasing women certainly from public life and education and all the different things. So the wicked men have risen up, and the men make themselves scarce. And one of the things in the article this woman said, or in this interview, the woman said is that she left Kabul when the Taliban took over for 6 weeks. She still lives there, and when she came back, even before new rules of dress had come out, people were already dressed completely differently. The people, they made themselves scarce. They knew what they needed to do. When wickedness is around, people know, sadly, the way that they need to behave. Continuing Pasuk Yud Gimel, verse 13, Mechaseh pishav lo yatzliach umodev ozev yirucham. The person who covers up his faults will not succeed. He who confesses and gives them up will find mercy. Right? Admit your faults, know your faults, and work on them. Ashrei adam mifached tamid umakshe libo yipol ra'a bira'a. Happy is the man who is always a little bit fearful, a little bit scared, a little bit worried. But the person who hardens his heart falls into misfortune. The person who hardens his heart and doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to look at that fears and worries and things to make himself better, it's not going to turn out okay for him. We're up to Pasuk Tedvav, verse 15. Arino Hein V'dov Shokek Moshel Rasha Alam Dal. A roaring lion and a prowling bear. Is a wicked man ruling a helpless people? Right? If those things are happening, the lions are roaring and the bears are all around, it means there's a wicked man, like we said earlier. There's a sense of anarchy outside. There's a sense of too many people being in charge. Nagid Chasar Tfunot V'Rav Ma'ashakot. So Nevetza Ya'arich Yamim. A prince who lacks understanding is oppressive. He who spurns ill-gotten gains will live a long time, right? If you have to work hard, you work hard for yourself, you're going to have purpose, and you're going to, presumably not always, but you'll live longer. You won't be lazy. If you're just able to get ill-gotten gains, then you won't have to work hard. You won't have to put in the efforts in life. We're up to Pasuk Yud Zayin, verse 17. Adam ashuk bidam nafesh, adbor yanus al yitmechuvo. A man oppressed by guilt, by blood guilt, will flee to a pit. Let none support him. Right? So somebody who causes his fellows to sin, somebody who causes death to others, eventually he's going to flee to a pit. One who lives blamelessly will be delivered, but he who is crooked in his ways will fall all at once. And you've heard me say before, if it was only that simple. He who tills his land will have food aplenty, but he who pursues vanities will have poverty aplenty. Again, one of the themes of the book mentioned a few verses ago, but the idea of the one who works, the one who prepares, will be the one who has the food. Ish emunot rav berachot ve'atz laha'ashir lo yinakeh. A person who is emunah, who is believable but more dependable, a person who supports others, will receive many blessings, but one in a hurry to get rich will not go unpunished. Haker panim lo tov yal pat lechem yifsha gaver. To be partial, to be makir panim to certain people is not the right thing. To prefer certain people over others. A man may do wrong for a piece of bread. It's like Oliver Twist, right? So here it's saying, it's seemingly after the first half of the verse talking about a judge or somebody who's doing it for a bribe, although it's not exactly clear that is 100% the only understanding of the verse. Continuing pasuk chaf bet nival lahon ishra ayin v'lo yeda ki cheser yivo enu. A miserly man runs after wealth. He does not realize that loss will come to him and perhaps even overtake him. A person who rebukes a man will in the end find more favor than one who flatters him, right? Enough with the yes men, enough with the Ed McMahons. Sometimes you have to tell people what they don't want to hear. Now you have to be careful how you say it. Continuing, Pasuk Chavdal goes El Avivi Movi Omerein Pasha Chaverhu Leish Mashchit. One who robs his mother and father and says, "I didn't do anything wrong," is a companion to vandal. Commentators are going to say that this talks about God and the way Jewish people sort of rob God by doing idolatry, by not living the right way. But obviously it can refer to a father and mother as well. People steal from their parents. Stories Pesel Micha back in the book of Shoftim, towards the end of the book, where Micha steals the money from his mother to create an idol. Interesting. Some of the commentaries say the second half of the verse refers to Yeravam. Yeravam is the person who rebels against Shlomo's son Rechavam, and he begins to be starts as a good king. God is the one who, I should say, once he becomes king, he's sort of already not good, but God chooses him to be the rebellion king. God sees a lot of promise in Yeravam as a leader of the Jewish people, but he goes in the wrong way. He steals from his father and mother, meaning from God. It doesn't allow the people to go back up to Yerushalayim, puts guards in the way so that the people from the Northern Kingdom won't be able to go on Aliyah L'Regel. They won't be able to pilgrimage down to Jerusalem. He creates false shrines of idols. So he robs from his mother and father, that be God, in that understanding of the pasuk. Verse 25: "Rechav nefesh yigarem adon avotech al Adonai yidushan." A greedy man provokes quarrels, but who trusts God will enjoy prosperity. He will become fattened. Yidushan. Botech belibo hu ksilvo lech b'chochma hu yimaleit. One who trusts his own instinct is a dullard, but he who lives by wisdom shall escape. And we've said many times in this book before that part of wisdom is listening to other people, is having that chavruta, having that person that can advise you. Notein l'rash ein machzor ma'alim einav rav me'erot. He who gives to the poor will not be needy. He will not have chaser in his life, but he who shuts his eyes will be roundly cursed. He will get me'erot, and the word me'erot is related to the word or. It's related to the word for light. It means a curse, and here obviously it's being used doubly in that way, because it's ma'alim einav, the person who shuts his eyes. They will not have me'ir, they will not have light in their eyes. They will have curses come to their eyes. Continue verse 28, the last verse in the chapter. B'kum rishatim yisater adam uva'avdam yirbu tzadikim. When the wicked rise up, men go into hiding. But when they perish, the righteous increase. Now, of course, when the wicked go up, we shouldn't just disappear. I said this idea from the Taliban, but when wickedness is around, we have to fight that wickedness. We can't just disappear from it. But this is a fact of life generally. When wickedness is in control, when the people who are running things are bad and evil, it's smarter to lay low. You have to pick your battles, decide what you're going to fight for. But here it's just a statement that's being said that you have a bad leader, you have bad people in charge, wickedness is pervasive. Strong people, it's going to be very, very hard to stand up. And I think back to what we say about Noach, who talks about Noach as a righteous man in his generation. And of course, Rashi cites the Midrash there. It's sort of a cup half full versus a cup half empty. If you take a cup half full perspective, he was righteous even in his generation of the wicked. Imagine if there were other righteous people around, if he would have lived at the time of Avraham, how he would have stood up and how much he did even in his bad generation, as opposed to sort of the other way, which is, he's only righteous in comparison, in relation to the people who lived in his generation. If he lived at a good time, he would have been a nobody. And so a lot of what we are in life is based upon who we are, but more so where we are and who we are around. And so in this chapter as well, the end of this chapter, right, a lot is going to happen based upon when wickedness arises, when strength arises, when goodness, and how are people going to respond, especially when wickedness arises, when yes, in some ways you have to hide, but in other ways you need to resist and you need to stand strong against the pervasive wickedness that is all around.